Hi, everybody, and welcome to another live session as part of AHF's virtual 2020 conference. I'm Leah Riley, the Executive Director of the Association for Healthcare Food Service, and we're super excited to be live with everyone again today. I want to thank everybody for hopefully attending our virtual exhibit hall this morning, which took place. I do want to remind everybody that the virtual booths and the sponsor booths are available at all times 24/7. So please do explore throughout the coming week and the week after. Our final week, please explore the booths, download documents, and interact with the sponsors. They will be continuing to monitor and available for meetings and interactions. Don't forget that you can win prizes from AHF for interacting and networking. At the end of each week, AHF places a link within the networking lounge that you can fill out with the information about the networking that you have done, and that will allow you to be entered to win prizes. So networking with our sponsors, in addition to all the great innovations and benefits, has some additional benefits there as well. And with that, I want to turn it to our amazing session today. Today is our innovation session, and I'm going to introduce today's moderator, Joe. Joe Carbonara is the editorial director for Food Service Equipment and Supplies and Restaurant Development and Design magazines. Prior to becoming editor-in-chief for FES in 2004, Joe was the marketing manager for Smith Buckland, where he spent 6 years working with the North American Association for Food Equipment Manufacturers. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today, and I am pleased to pass it over to you to get us started.
Thank you, Leah. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today. As Leah said, my name is Joe Carbonara, and I'm the editorial director for Food Service Equipment and Supplies magazine. And we, as our name cleverly implies, we write a lot about food service equipment and supplies, but we also like to write about, innovations and the way that they have the opportunity to kind of shape the way the food service industry goes to market, the way you manage your business. And I think during times like these, the concept of innovation has never been more appropriate. Every food service operator, healthcare included, faces a mountain of challenges. And I don't think it would be possible for too many of you to work harder out there, but maybe the opportunity to work a little bit smarter, get a little bit more innovative, maybe leverage some technologies that can kind of make your day-to-day a little bit more effective and a little bit more efficient, and allow you to focus on the parts of your job that you truly, truly love. So with that in mind, we're going to start today's session. And what we're going to do here today is we have 3 vendors here who are going to provide brief updates or brief overviews, if you will, about the products and services that they offer in ways that they can help healthcare food service operators operate in a more effective and efficient manner. If you have any questions as these presentations go through, we invite you to submit those questions using the Q&A feature. And we will do our best to address some of those questions as each presentation plays out. And then we'll bring all 3 presenters together at the very end for a Q&A session as well. So with that in mind, it's my privilege to introduce you to the panelists. And our first panelist is John Herzog, joining us from DM&A. John joined DM&A in 2017 after 10 years as a healthcare food service director. John has more than 20 years of practical experience in the kitchen as an executive pastry chef and a general manager in his earlier career in a fine dining capacity. With DM&A, John has successfully worked with hospitals and healthcare organizations to implement process changes and efficiency and quality improvements. It's quite a resume, John. Good job.
Thanks.
Why don't you take the rest of the year off?
Thanks. Yeah. Well, most of that's mine, but
So, well, with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to John, and I will be back on in a few moments. John.
Great. Well, thanks, Joe. I appreciate that introduction. And of course, I'm very happy to be here today participating in the AHF Virtual Conference Innovations Session. We're a longtime business partner with AHF, and we share common goals align ourselves with their goals in basically helping healthcare food service operators succeed, period. Anything that they need help with, assistance with, We have a team of former executive chefs, directors, and so forth to help meet the goals that they've set for themselves, budgetary, patient satisfaction, and so forth. Innovation actually describes very accurately how Stella was born. Created by a former director, also an RD, who just knew that there had to be a better way. Make it easier on the user, yet robust enough to cover all the bases towards improving healthy outcomes. Okay. Stella is a full-service food and nutrition software application. We support room service or tray line style meal service and can be used for retail offerings as well. With Stella, you can manage your inventory and purchasing. We interface with all of the vendors, prime vendors, and creating production sheets for your team, forecasts with your chef is easy as a few clicks of the button. Probably the most notable innovation with Stella is that it was one of the first food and nutrition software to be cloud-based. Works on any internet-enabled device. You can literally work from anywhere, and that can be a great thing, and it also can be a challenging thing. Changes to items and recipes are immediate, and there's no need to wait for an end-of-day process to run to update any of your information. Stella takes a very innovative approach to maintaining your menu and recipe database as well. We simply handle that for you. We work with you and your team initially to create a menu with either your own recipes or borrowing recipes from our immense recipe database. And everything, of course, is linked to their nutritional values, information, and coded for diet and allergies. Stella is incredibly flexible as you can create separate menus by diet or by units in your hospital or any other areas of your hospital where you would like to offer a different menu. The nutrition analysis is available. This is on screen with meal parts or weekly analysis available again with just the click of a button. And this is part of the data that we maintain for you. Keep it current, keep it updated. Excel reporting allows for a printable analysis by meal, day, and weekly averages. This is exactly what surveyors are going to ask you for. And again, we make sure that this data is as current as and is updated with any menu changes or recipe changes that you need. That is an excellent feature and very handy. Well, COVID has increased the demand for mobile meal ordering, and this is something that Stella has started working with right out of the gate. So we've got it very honed down and effortless. Being cloud-based, this innovation is absolutely seamless. So it hopefully as seamless will be my flip over to a mini demonstration. I'm not going to get too deep, so I don't want anybody to switch off, but I do want to show you what Stella looks like and what some of the best features are, including that meal ordering, mobile meal ordering. So as I mentioned, Stella has the ability to have multiple menus. Here we have 8, and this is throughout this one facility. And then here is where you can see when updates have been made by our team and who made them and when they were made. If we click on the room service lunch menu, which would be probably your main menu to serve most of your census, you can see that that's quite a substantial menu with a lot of items. Again, everything tied to their own nutritional values and so forth in the database, broken down into categories that would meet your printed menu or your electronic menu. But if you wanted to offer another menu for a smaller unit or another area of your hospital, you would be pulling from the same database of recipes and creating as many as your situation required. And here you can see that there are a few less grill items than were on the main menu per se. Now let's take a look at room service ordering, how room service ordering looks on Stella. You simply type the patient's name, last name, and their information pops up, and including a box of nutrient totals. Here it's highlighted in red. That indicates that Donald Duck is a consistent carb diet. So as we're looking or putting their order together, you can see that it all happens in real time. The nutrient totals are calculated in that box. And if you hover over the carbohydrates, the rule box pops up. So this allows for your diet or office or your order takers to be reminded to actually coach the patient as they're putting their order together, what their diet is. If you're hovering over all of these items in green indicate that those are likes. Donald Duck likes his sodas. And if you hover over any item in that menu list, you're going to get all of the nutritional information that you need to build an appropriate order for that patient. So Donald is going to order one more item, I believe, and he would like to have a little bit of milk with this meal. You can see when milk is added, it gives you that warning again, and then you can go back and hover over and it'll tell you exactly what the variance is and help you and your patient together figure out what's the best move to make sure that you stay within your dietary parameters, but you also get what you want. And we simply remove the milk and we're back good to go. Send that ticket to the kitchen and we're ready to roll. Mobile meal ordering, as I said, is probably the biggest innovation that we're talking about with Stella, although the entire process is great. This will show you that this pops up your information for your specific diet. So you're still aware of where your carbs would fall in this particular diet. And then you can schedule when you would like your lunch. Now, again, this works on any device that the patient has brought in as long as it can enable the internet, which most everything can now. All of the ingredients for that menu item, the photograph shows up. You're basically building a cart just like you would if you're ordering from any other restaurant, except we provide a lot more information on the ingredients and the nutritionals. So once you see that picture, you like what you see, you're going to get a nice, concise, accurate description of what the nutritionals are for that order. And then you're just going to simply click submit. It's going to confirm you want to send it, and it goes off to the kitchen. So again, we're back, and I hope that if you have any questions, I'd love to field them now. But if you are interested in learning, taking a deeper dive in how Stella can help you in your facility specifically, it's completely customizable. It's not really an out-of-the-box type of solution. We meet, we go on site, we get to know your team, your workflow. We also are there for go live when you're transitioning from another system, or if this is your first software system. We are, and it is, a full service nutritional food service software.
Awesome. Thank you, John. We do have a question that came in. And one question is, will Stella work for small nursing homes and assisted living facilities? Populations around 75, maybe 80 people, that sort.
We have installs that are like 10, 12 beds. The beautiful thing about it is, again, it can be customized. It's robust, so it can handle, and we have it in a multi hospital system. But we can definitely fit in with any size facility. Okay.
Now I have another question too. You said that Donald Duck is big into his soft drinks, right?
He is.
And then I was talking to his nephews the other day, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, because Aunt Daisy's out of town. They're kind of looking after their uncle.
Well.
Now, and in talking with them, they wanted access to his files to see how much soda Uncle Donald's been drinking. But I told them, due to HIPAA laws, I can't really share that. And that kind of got me wondering, with a system like this, patient, obviously, security and privacy is such a big deal. How does that work in terms of maintaining that? How does this system work in terms of maintaining?
It is. We actually do not store any patient information. So that's all stored at the facility. And I'm not a qualified software coder, but we have cleared all of the safety measures that all of the hospitals that we've installed have in place. So we speak to that data when we need it, but we don't store anything.
Got it.
So it's covered. And certainly if anybody has more questions regarding that, we can, we work closely with Delegate is the platform that we built our system on, and they can assist in answering any questions directly with your IT at the facility.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
As of right now, I don't see any other questions coming in. So I think what we're going to do then at this point is we are going to invite John to kind of fade to black, so to speak, and then we're going to introduce our next presenter. And our next presenter is Tracy Turnquist, joining us from Vision Software Technologies. Tracy joined Vision Software Technologies in 2010 as the Director of Sales and Marketing. Prior to joining Vision, Tracy had 15 years of experience in healthcare food service management. Tracy served as the Director of Food and Nutrition Services for large health systems in Detroit, Michigan. Tracy also has several years of experience consulting healthcare, food, and environment service departments around the country. Good afternoon, Tracy.
Good afternoon, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. Let me get this slide show started here. And I'm sorry for the little bit of delay that's happening here. What's going on?
It always works that way. You know, the old foils we used to put up in college. I'm probably dating myself by saying that, but we never had a problem with those things. There you go.
All right. Okay, can we see the screen?
Yeah, the screen looks great.
And can you still see me?
I can.
Okay, good. So yes, Joe, thank you so much for that introduction. And Vision is very excited to be part of this of AHF's virtual conference this year. And as Vision Software is celebrating its 41-year anniversary of innovation for healthcare food service, this segment just worked out perfectly. So what we're going to talk about is COVID management. One of the things that we found out this past couple months is the need for our clients to be able to do some quick management of the software on their own. And so what we did is we created some utilities for them. So the Vision software system has always provided isolation and safety protocol alerts to support our clients. But like I said earlier on in the COVID-19 pandemic, it became very clear we needed to design utilities in our software to support our clients' needs to make quick changes to the software at a moment's notice. This helped them to support any federal, state, and local management of COVID-19 at any pandemic that may occur in the future. So the first thing that we were able to create utilities for is to be able to manipulate or enhance the interface. Understand that our system typically will be interfaced into the hospital's EMR or the HIS system. But sometimes when you need to move quickly, there could be an opportunity where that information didn't come from the HIS system into your food service system. But you know that there needed to be a quick change on the interface to support nursing units, room and bed, based on the designated COVID unit as of today. And you need to let your staff know as they're doing their job what unit that is and how to manage that. So we made utilities that made it very easy for the management to go in and be able to change the description, room and bed, nursing, to designate that as a COVID unit to keep the food service department safe. A typical example of this was during one of our clients that called and asked us to help them with this. They had surgical units that were flipping on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, to manage their COVID patients. And they weren't getting that information coming across the interface because it wasn't being placed into the HIS system quick enough for them to manage it out of food service. So we were able to get that utility so they can manipulate the interface and be able to move forward and with letting their staff know who, what, and where these COVID patients are in the unit. As well, with that, it also prints on the meal ticket. So the meal ticket would let you know that this is a COVID unit. And as you're moving that through the line and being sending it out for delivery, you were able to see that right at your fingertips or your eyeballs, excuse me.
Hey, Tracy, before you quickly jump onto the next slide, can you just change it to full view?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure as we move forward that we had that switched up.
I thought well, my screen is showing a full view.
You might need to re-share because we can see the slides.
Oh, no. Well, that's not cool. Let me do this. Here for a minute. Resharing. I'm sorry. I'm having
Totally fine. Well, now I'm not, I can't reshare my screen through Zoom. Are you, is it better now? If you just press, go to view quickly for me, we can resolve this pretty fast.
View.
The view tab on PowerPoint, and then you're just going to click on read view.
Okay. No, did it not change?
Yeah, if you just reshared a PowerPoint.
I did.
Okay, this is great. I think we can keep going with this.
Is that it? Is it okay? I'm sorry. If
yes, this is great.
Okay. Okay, sorry. So the next.
Continue onward.
Okay. So the next. The next piece that we designed to manage and help with COVID was for food shortages. And many of our food service clients and their departments experienced the inability to get all the food items they needed to support their menus. So with a few quick utilities, we were able to support our clients' needs to quickly remove, replace, and rebuild their menus in an easy category review and recipe add-on utilities. We were also able to provide clients with emergency menus and shopping lists if the client did not have their own emergency menus already built into the system. That way we could upload that very quickly. They had the shopping lists for their vendors and were able to move forward and provide a menu that also could help support them if they ended up with staffing shortages due to COVID. If they're, that way they can quickly flip to another menu to say, okay, we're missing a couple of our hotline people today, so we have to go to more of a cold menu. So they would have all of those in their system ready to go for COVID now, but as well for anything into the future. Another piece that we developed utilities for were our tray tracking system, or what we call Trays Your Way. And being able to have safety and meal delivery with that. The number one thing we were able to do is to add those checkpoints into the system to designate what units were COVID, as well as be able to edit the cart information. So you could have designated carts that were just for those COVID units. One of the things that this also helped with was doing contact tracing. So if you had the staff being able to create and assist in quick designation of those carts, and the delivery person and the safety and the protocols for cleaning, as well as ensuring that if that employee came in contact with a COVID positive patient, and if they were to contact COVID themselves, we have reports in our system that we can actually have printed off, or the management can print off and use those for their management of the hospital, the long-term care, or even if they need to report that to the state, federal, local governments, they have the reports of who, what, when, and where that person could have possibly been exposed to COVID-19. Lastly, supporting our frontline heroes today and into the future. And just to recap is supporting COVID-19 or any pandemic now and into the future with our software, being able to provide them with the emergency menus to be able to deal with the shortages. If they have a limited food service staff and they need to flip to a different type of menu due to exposure to COVID, and also that contact tracing to be able to provide those reports to keep everybody safe, but also to know where this your staff may have been exposed. And as well, easy changes in interface, menu, and delivery procedures. So with that, I will pass it back to Joe.
Thanks, Tracy. That was great. Before we move on to our last presentation, I do have a question here for you. You know, the systems you talked about, contact tracing, and I always say that wrong, but in that sort of thing, and being able to trace like when something went through a COVID floor and the whole bit. And those systems are only really as good as the data that they collect, right? They have to be able to put the data in there. So I guess the first question that comes to mind is, number one, how difficult is it to make these types of changes, and were people, you know, pretty on board with making them?
The changes if you're asking about making the actual changes so you can monitor it, it's very easy with these utilities. It's a matter of just opening it up and being able to manipulate the interface by just writing just a simple type in to say COVID-19 unit to north now and make those changes. But with the contact tracing, that is easy as well. Because as you're making those changes in the system, what it's doing is it's updating. So if you're looking at the tray tracking system and we designated a cart for 2 North because that's the current COVID unit, we know who is responsible for delivering that cart up to the unit through barcode abilities. So they're using their smart device, whether it's an Apple product or Android phone, tablet, and it works through your camera to scan those tickets in that cart. So you know everything that we're from the start to finish to delivery. And then you will be able to know who was on those units at all times.
Yeah, that's great. And did you find that customers had to access that information quite a bit during the fun 5 months we've been having?
Yes, and especially early on, we had a couple clients that were pretty busy with the COVID numbers within their facilities, but we are still seeing that this is a useful tool through the tray tracking system because their health systems are looking for this data every week or every day. So it's been a very, very useful utility and tool for our clients.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. And Tracy will be back along with John at the end for a couple of more fun-filled questions from yours truly and from you and from the audience as well. So if you have questions about the products you see here or general things you just want to pick their brains, you know, our panelists here do work with and they see a lot of different food service operations in general, healthcare operators specifically. So you're welcome to ask them questions about other things that they see as well. But before we do that, I'd like to invite David Canterbury from Partstown to join us. David joined Partstown in 2018 as the Director of Business Development for the healthcare and amusement segments of the food service industry. Now, those aren't two segments, David, that we often pair very often, healthcare and amusement. Sometimes if you're not paying attention when you're on the amusement end, you might need healthcare, but that's a different story for another day. David has 25 years of experience in the financial, elevator, escalator, and commercial food equipment industries as both a service provider and a manufacturer. That's a pretty diverse background, David. I like it. David is a results-oriented leader and a strong believer in the development of strong relationships. He holds degrees in science and mechanical engineering and resides in the great state of Florida. Welcome, David. David, I'm going to ask you before you say anything else to unmute yourself. You're unmuted. There you go.
Now can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. Yes.
Because I'm calling through my phone, so I don't know why I had to unmute this, but whatever, it works. First, thanks for having me. I appreciate the hard work that went on to make sure this conference happened. This is the first one I've attended, and I can't imagine what you had to go through the AHF staff to make sure this went on, and it's greatly appreciated. So I'm sure I speak for a lot of people that we definitely appreciate the effort to make this happen. Share my screen. Okay, I'm going to dive right into this. First, I'm going to go with a little bit of information about Partstown. The first thing I want to do is show a video that, since we're talking about the innovation, you know, innovation starts internally for us. You know, one of our core values is innovation, to make sure what we're doing, make sure our customers get what they've ordered, make sure everything goes off in a timely fashion, but also to make your jobs easier. So we have a number of tools that do that. But the first thing I want to show is our distribution center in a video that shows just how we handle things internally and the innovation we're doing inside.
We supply genuine OEM food service parts. No generics, no off-brands, just the real thing, ensuring your equipment is safe and running at top performance levels. Our customers count on us to deliver not just parts, but the next big breakthrough. Another industry-driving innovation that will make their businesses stronger. Our distribution center is equipped with a cutting-edge automated inventory system, allowing us to manage our stock with even more efficiency. We make ordering food service equipment parts easy, fast, and even kind of fun.
Okay, so I'll give you a little quick background on Partstown, just so we have anyone who doesn't know, they will hopefully know after I'm finished. Partstown is owned by PT Holdings, and you know, it started relatively small, which I'll go over in a little bit, but now, you know, our annual revenue is a $950 million company. 85% of that comes from parts distribution. 15% comes from field service, because PT Holdings also owns a number of third-party service companies. The key takeaway from this, I think, is, first of all, the 35% compound annual growth rate we've had since 2013. We're a very strong company and getting stronger. We're a 12-time honoree of the Inc. 5000, which is the 5,000 fastest growing privately held companies in the United States. And we're also a member of Crane's Fast 50, which is the 50 fastest growing companies in the Chicago area. Over the past 15 years, there's been a lot of change at Partstown. We've grown from a $3 million to a $650+ million a year company, from 5 employees to 1,800. We launched the industry's first e-com site and mobile app. We're the first movers on innovations that transform this industry. We've completed 13 acquisitions, and we're commonly recognized as one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S. And now it's changing a little bit more. Many of you already know this, but the final integration will be finished in October, where we're going live with various segments of our company right now. But what this means for you is you'll have the strength of both Partstown and Heritage together, which will allow you to 50% more inventory, better logistics, better hours of operation, ability to bring this new technology to the industry at a faster pace, and while maintaining the same standard we have for customer experience in our teams and for when you call in and need help when you're in a bind. We basically have 5 promises. The first and foremost promise is our parts are always going to be OEM parts, 100% OEM, and that's for various reasons, but the 3 primary reasons for me are safety to your equipment, safety to your staff, and safety to your patients. It keeps your equipment efficient and everything, but it's about safety first. We have more parts than anybody on the planet. If you place an order up to 9 p.m. Eastern, if it's in stock, it still ships that day. Our customer serious, our customer experience, and of course now we're going to talk about the innovations, because that's what we're here for. The innovations that we put in place, and we have an innovations team, that's what they do. And it's geared to drive efficiency, compliance, and safety. Here is our timeline of the Partstown Innovation Timeline, as we call it. In 2007, and I'll touch on these, but I won't bring them all up, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or ask questions at the end. Partstown.com started a website 2007, and from that website, as we all know, we're all moving toward innovation and how do we get information without calling and things like that sometimes. So we have some things in place that make that far easier. For example, the interactive diagrams. I come from the service world, so if I'm working on an oven or working on a blast chiller or whatever, I can have that information in front of me on a mobile device, on my phone, my iPad, and I can pull up exploded views from the manual section for equipment. And I can hover my mouse over a particular part and it'll tell me what that part is, how many is in inventory, and the price. So it gives you quick access to the information you need to make sure the repairs that are being made are going to be made with the proper parts. To me, that's huge, being able to have that self-check. We came up with the first mobile app. Then we optimized our website. PartSpin, which I'm sure many of you've seen, allows you to look at a part from various angles. So if you have a solenoid or something in your hand and you want to make sure you're buying the correct one, you can spin it around and look at it from different angles and verify. Smart manuals, which are the OEM manuals, which on the parts list, they're hyperlinked. So if you have a list of parts on a page, you can click the hyperlink and it'll load it in the parts.com parts module. And again, you'll have access to, you know it's the correct part because it was hyperlinked. And second, you'll be able to see the inventory levels, whether you can get it right now, things like that. Another form of innovation has been the serial number lookup, which is pretty awesome, because if you have a piece of equipment, you have the serial number, you can go in on the website, type in that serial number under the serial number lookup, and we have it right now for about around 50 manufacturers, and it'll load up that equipment. It'll load up the parts and the manuals for that piece of equipment. So again, it's taking the guesswork out of it. Again, on the end user end, it makes their life easier. The final rollout that I have on the list here is called Parts in Town, and it is for urgent repairs. So what you can do is that if you have a critical piece of equipment that's down in your kitchen, you can use, you log into partstown.com and you find that part you need, and if it has that Parts in Town logo beside it, when you log in, it tracks your zip code. And then you can, from there, find the part, whether it's 10, 20, 30 miles away. So it gives you the ability through our third-party partners to get that part faster. So if you can't wait 24 hours, you can use the Parts in Town innovation to get that part that day when you need it. So I think that's a big game changer. Hopefully it doesn't happen very often, but there are times when equipment goes down and you need it running immediately or as soon as possible. As far as finding parts and things like that on the website, you can do them multiple ways. In the middle of the screen, you see the search bar in the red. You can search for a model. You can search for a manufacturer. You can search for a particular part number. To the right of that, you have drop downs where you can look for, it starts at the manufacturer level and you drill down to the point where you can look up the manuals for a particular piece of equipment. I've already mentioned the serial number lookup, but it's at the very top of the page, right to the left of the login. And, still, for all of these parts, when you pull them up, the interesting thing is if you're looking for a particular model number, piece of equipment, for like this Perlick, we're not looking at a particular model, but it's weighted out by what's the most frequently ordered part for Perlick, and that would be that gasket. So it does that down, and that's not just in the healthcare industry, that's throughout all of our analytics, that's through all of our segments. So that tells you that's a pretty frequently ordered part, and it goes through to do the same thing even at the model level. This is what I spoke about earlier with the interactive diagrams. In an example like this, you have this exploded view of a cabinet. You can hover your mouse over any one of those bullets, and it'll tell you what that part is and give you the details. So again, it's taking the guesswork and the searching out of your day. You can find it quicker and verify that it is the correct part. And here's the, this is the parts module, but the next thing I'll show here is the parts spin aspect. You can basically flip a part around and look at it from different angles. One additional item on the top right is the My Account. So we encourage everyone to create an account when you make your first order or when you're looking for parts. A few things that can do is the key one to me is My Equipment. You can load your asset list, or you can send it to us, and we'll load your asset list. And then when you log into your account, you go to My Equipment, and it'll just show the equipment you have at your location. And if you have multiple kitchens, say A, B, and C, it'll be categorized as this is for A, this is for B, and this is for C. And then you have access to that data as far as parts, manuals. It's all categorized, it's all there. And again, it takes time out of your day looking for the equipment that you need, the parts that you need. And of course, through the website, we have live chats. We can build a custom website for your location if you wish. So when you log in, you'll see, just the information for your location. One other feature, one other additional thing I'll speak about today is the mobile app. As you can see on the right, we have a mobile device there, and you can see you can search by manufacturer, category, serial number, lookup, things like that. It works the same way. But this is a standalone app. This is not a stripped down website. So this actually is a mobile app in the true sense. And there's some really cool features with this. It works like the website. So you have the live chats. You can see the interactive diagrams, the smart manuals. A couple things that I think are critical with this, and you can also do this on the website, but one of the things would be if you have someone that's working on a piece of equipment they can use the app, create a shopping cart, and email that shopping cart to whether it's materials, logistics, purchasing, whoever needs to take care of it. And you don't do what I would do and put a 2 where it's supposed to be a Z. You know, you're sending the exact part, so there's no transposing of numbers or anything like that. So it clears up any risk of something being misread. Another cool feature with this is, you know, you can use your mobile device camera, and you can take a picture of a box that has a barcode on it, and then it will load that part into the parts module as well, so you can view it. So those are a few of the features that, you know, with the website and the mobile app that we've developed essentially to make your life easier. And of course, we're always available if you need us. We're here, we have parts, and we're here to help you. Here's the rest of the team. Michelle and Lacey are also available through our website and on the conference app and software as well, the format. So you can reach out to them. That's who we are. We're here to help you. On the lower right, you have the phone number that rings straight into our institution's team. So that can speed things up as well. And if you ever have any questions, obviously you can email iserve@partstown.com. We're here to help with anything you need. Just give us a shout and we'll be here for you. Appreciate your time. I hope everybody's enjoying the conference.
That was great, David. Thank you for that. Before we go back to the big group here, I do have a question for you. You know, sometimes you might not be able to know exactly what part you need. You know, you can kind of see something's going and you're trying to sit on that. I'm not a very handy guy, unlike you. And I'm sure that there are others out there that fall into that category. So correct me if I'm wrong, but can you talk a little bit about some of the troubleshooting capabilities that your technology has to people to understand, you know, whether it's what type of part they might need or whether it might be more appropriate to call a service agent?
One thing that we do have is on our website is it's called Tech Town, and it's an area where we'll have blogs written on how to tear down, how to fire equipment up, certain troubleshooting things. But if you're getting into a level of troubleshooting where you're looking for a bad part, it might be better to call our tech support lines and get help that way. But you can obviously start that process by calling the 844 number that I had on the last screen, and we'll start that process along to get you the help. Awesome. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to invite Tracy and John to join us now for a brief Q&A. And again, to those of you that are still listening out there, I'd like to invite, if you have any questions for our panelists, please feel free to submit them. They're here to answer your questions and make life a little bit easier for you. I know they have a lot to offer that goes beyond their specific products and their company expertise, because they do touch a lot of healthcare food service operations. And I guess that's kind of where I want to start with the first question here. You know, we've heard about a lot of changes, you know, in the commercial restaurant world because of COVID, in-person dining being a no-go and things shutting down and that sort of thing. And I'm wondering how some of this is playing out on the healthcare side. Specifically, you know, have we seen healthcare food service operators, John or Tracy, have we seen them change their service style, you know, since the dawn of the pandemic? You know, for example, have they gone from select or room service option to more of a non-select option, or that? I'm just sort of curious, you know, in terms of what you guys have seen from other operators.
I think early on there was a thought that maybe they would have to whittle down the menu. I mean, there were some issues with getting actual products to the facility, and you know, before, I mean, we're talking really early on, but and we actually had anticipated hearing that more, that people would need some assistance moving back to tray service from room service or what have you, and then worried about getting teams and staff. That was a big concern. But what really played out, at least with the clients and the staffs that we worked with, was kind of the exact opposite. Outside of the fact that nursing took over more of the tray passing part of the puzzle, there was almost a renewed sense of duty and camaraderie and teamwork amongst all of the staff, in the kitchen. And they really, for the most part, came together, and call-ins weren't a significant issue as folks had anticipated. And so they in fact looked at, and I think administrators did as well, if you were doing room service and you had already raised and made, there was a lot of hospitals that had taken hospital food service to, a very elevated level of service, and it would have been a significant change to go back, and nobody wanted to do that. And so I don't think it ever materialized into let's change the way we do everything. Small changes, sure. But I also want to say real quick that it really shined a light on the healthcare food service team being looked upon as much of a caregiver and part of the healing in that hospital than maybe it did before. We're usually down in the basement with, us and our co-partners in EVS, we're people need us. We touch every single person that comes in that hospital, but often we're not really looked upon as that level as, like, say, nursing or something. And I think that really changed during this.
You bring up a great point, John, because I think at its core, food service is really all about hospitality. And every time I think about this, I think back to an AHF conference from a couple of years ago, where one of the keynote speakers, she was a survivor of the Boston Marathon bombing, and she spoke so heartfelt and so eloquently about the hospitality that she received from the food service team when she really didn't feel like eating anything, and she was really down. And the one thing that, for whatever reason, seemed to make sense to her was Jell-O. And I know that healthcare food service is trying to overcome that. Hey, we're the consomme and Jell-O people. But at the end of the day, in this case, it really worked for her, and it gave her the boost to kind of get going, and she doesn't forget that. I think that's, really, really important. You're right. I think I hope that's one of those changes. I think that change in perception is one of those things that I hope that sticks, that food service, is hospitality, is part of the healing process. Tracy, have you noticed any changes in service style?
We have noticed it more on the retail side than we have on the patient services side, where a lot of our clients have removed their salad bars, and they're going more to those the salad robot type situations, more grab and go, where they used to have more of their chef demonstrations, not as many anymore. No more self-serve type situations, even sandwiches, self-serve salads, things are made, and it's made right in front of you, but then served to you. That's where we've seen most changes. The bigger change that maybe we saw on the patient side is using the mobile app more often. It's still in a room service situation, but a lot of our clients do the spoken menu at the bedside using a tablet of some sort. And they're doing that hostess situation where it's that hospitality between food service and the patient. Well, they're now using more of the mobile app to reduce their staff being in those rooms on those units. But really, I got to say, it's more of the retail. Retail has really changed.
Yeah, retail has changed so much because there's so fewer people that are working on the campuses right now, right? The admin people and the different folks, most of them are working remotely. Healthcare has restricted the number of visitors that, if they allow visitors at all, right, for patients that are on there. And I think all the business that ends up getting transacted on these locations right now is really curtailed significantly, at least for the time being. Those folks will come back, but I know that it also has operators really rethinking some of their facilities. And you bring up a great point about retail with the demand there being less. And we've even seen more in the B&I segment where bigger campuses have gone to more standardized menus, even though they have healthcare and if they have food service, in different areas, that they've in different buildings on a, let's say it's a multi-building campus, for example, they might have food service in 2 or 3 locations, but they've gone to standardized menus where that might not have been the case in the past to really kind of limit that food tourism, if you will. People
Right.
saying, oh, it's burger day over in building 2, so I'm going there. But one of the questions I have, looking more at retail, David, I want to bring you back into the conversation here. So when we look a little bit at retail, what we've seen is, I talked to different healthcare operators who said that they've shut down their retail, for a period of time because that part of the building wasn't very active. There wasn't as much need, trying to consolidate for resources and what have, for various reasons, right? Some of that's had to shut down. What are some things that, from an equipment perspective, I'm sure that they have the menu part down and all that good stuff, but from an equipment perspective, as they have to start up some items that may have been sitting there idle for quite some time, what should they look at? Let's say for gas equipment, for example, they could start there and then kind of look at some of the cold stuff as well.
The primary thing to look at when you're firing back up, particularly a gas piece of equipment, is check your hoses. Check your hoses and your fittings, because you want to make sure you do not have some kind of gas leak or a bad hose, because if they've been setting unused for a while, they're at risk. And other items for like a reach in or walk in, things like that, you always want to check your gaskets and make sure you're holding temp. So you're looking at compressors and evaporators and things like that. So.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. And how do they know, like, if they need to bring a food service? When do I need to bring a tech back in to help me clean it and restart it, or if I can just pick up where I left off? Is there any hard and fast rules of thumb for that?
There are, and we've actually created a checklist that goes through the whole, tells you for various kinds of equipment, the checklist you need to go through on a restart. If I'm not mistaken, that's available in our exhibit area, that it can be downloaded. So, but the main thing is when you get in a situation like that, you have to kind of gauge your staff's expertise and what are they looking for. You want to do pressure checks and things like that to make sure that your equipment is holding proper pressure, heating to the proper temperature, so your food is of good quality.
Great points there. I want to go back to menu for a second, because it all starts with the menu, doesn't it? And thinking back to that, and I'm wondering, John, have you seen, or how have you seen menus evolve, since COVID got it? We originally thought they'd be pretty streamlined. Tracy made some great points talking about how more grab and go in retail. In general, I'd love to hear what the two of you are seeing from a menu evolution perspective.
Well, I think people are starting to revisit some convenience items, whereas in the past they may not have. But the reality is that some pre-prepared and convenience items have really come a long way. However, that's mostly to address any kind of labor changes or labor needs. But we really are seeing people not wanting to give up on local, fresh, and healthy ingredients. I think that clearly we're all thinking about our own health way more than probably we did 6-7 months ago, and part of that is eating more healthy. So ironically, to Tracy's point, we are seeing the salad bars go away, but the demand for fresh produce is, I believe, as high as it's ever been. So I just think that people are just now, in the last couple of months, starting to make some changes to get back to where we were, and to what you were saying about limited, trying to find ways to expand. But it was not, there was a significant shortage of food for a while, and I was on several webinars with the grocery industry and food wholesalers, and I believe I haven't heard anything recently, but that was a significant adjustment that they had to make. So even if you wanted to do some menu expansion, it certainly wasn't the time when you had a difficult time just getting a particular kind of napkin or plastic forks or canned tomatoes that are worth using, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Anything to add there before we wrap up?
Well, really, it's kind of what John was talking about with the food shortages, and it kind of goes back to one of my slides in my presentation, and that's where we needed to help our clients ensure that those emergency menus were in place and be able to make those quick changes quickly when they couldn't get the right tomatoes or the right napkin, or, you know, specifically the food item more than equipment. And be able, as well as when they had staff shortages, because it did happen, that they could flip their menu quickly to maybe a cold grab and go, or something that was, they could produce a good nutritious meal for the patients and the staff with limited staff and limited food items. So, but now we're seeing it's starting to come, it's coming back to normal now.
Yeah.
Well, we're about near the end of our time, unfortunately. But before I turn it back over to Leah, I just guess I'd like to kind of put a bow on this, if I may. You know, a couple things that we've learned here today. You know, we've learned about, if we learned anything through the pandemic, you know, in the past 5 months, and it's kind of hard to view anything right now without looking through that lens. You know, it's the importance of flexibility, the importance of speed, and the importance to being able to be reactive and make informed decisions while being fast and being flexible and so forth. And I think a lot of what we've heard about in our 3 innovations that we've discussed here today really can potentially serve as a platform for some of that in the right situation. If these aren't the right situations for you, you know, that's okay. But, you know, start looking at things. I would encourage the operators out there to start looking at things that can help you be more flexible, be faster, and make more informed decisions, because you're going to have to make some pretty critical decisions moving forward in pretty short windows of time. I think if we've learned anyone, it's unlike, you know, a hurricane or something coming on where we usually have a few days run up. This happened, and it happened quick. So being able to be flexible, to pivot, to be fast, and to make informed decisions, I think is going to be the 3 critical ingredients to any success for healthcare food service operators moving forward. So with that, I'd like to thank Tracy, I'd like to thank John, and I would like to thank David for their time today. And Leah, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. That was a great session, and I really appreciate all 4 of you joining us today and the time that you took to put into those presentations. I know it'll be of benefit to all of our operator members. So thanks everyone for your participation, and to our presenters. Before we sign off today and end our session, I just want to remind everyone that we do have another live day of sessions on Thursday. We're going to have our announcements for our culinary showcase winners. So hopefully you guys got a chance to watch those videos. They're really great, and the teams did such a good job pivoting into a completely new environment. So, you know, please do join us for that, where we'll be announcing the 2 winners following a happy hour. And then we also on that same day have our benchmarking Q&A. So hopefully all of our operators are benchmarkers, but if you're not, between the recorded session that's available anytime and then that Q&A, you should be set and ready to go and start benchmarking with AHF so that you know your numbers and you can keep the contractors at bay and wow all of your administrators. So we hope you guys will join us on Thursday. And of course, we do hope that you'll keep continuing to network with our vendors and our sponsors throughout the conference in the coming 2 weeks. And with that, thank you guys so much for joining us, and thanks everybody else for signing on today.
Thank you.
Bye guys.
Thank you.
Bye.